In the coastal region of the United States, fisherman John is taking a nap on his boat when he realizes that something has just hooked his bait. Believing he may have caught a big fish, the man pilots his boat at very high speed so that he can chase the target. What he doesn't realize is that his capture is actually a mermaid, who is trying to escape as quickly as possible while carrying a baby in her arms. After leaving John's sonar detection range, the creature arrives at a moored boat and decides to hide her son in one of the boat's compartments. Soon after, she swims towards the fisherman and reveals herself on the surface, making the man extremely excited, as he is the first human being in the world to meet a mermaid in real life. Thanks to the distraction, John ends up colliding with one of the headlights, allowing the creature to escape without difficulty. Far from there, Sharon and Whit arrive on an island paradise, where they intend to start a new life away from urban civilization. At that moment, the travelers begin to hear the cry of a baby, and when they check one of the ship's compartments, they come across the abandoned little one. So the couple decide to keep the child and head for their beach house while being watched by the mermaid, who is devastated to discover that her son has been stolen by the humans. 13 years later, Cody lives with his family on the boat, which they use as a means of transportation for various tourists in the region. Realizing that he is late for the big swimming competition, the boy decides to run towards the venue so that he can join the rest of his group. Despite having missed the ferry, Cody doesn't give up and dives in so that he can swim quickly to his destination. Thanks to his high speed in the water, the boy manages to overtake the boat, leaving everyone on the crew completely shocked. At the stadium, the coach realizes that Cody hasn't shown up yet, and is worried that the boy won't take part in the competition. Before the last call of the championship was made, the boy managed to arrive on time, and after picking up his equipment, he went to his position. At the sound of the shot, the youngsters dive into the pool, and Cody competes for the lead with Sean, his great rival from the swimming tournaments. Despite the boy's great speed, he always ends up being overtaken by his main opponent, and once again, Sean finishes the championship in first place. Realizing that his two students had made the podium in the championship, the coach was proud and declared that from now on they would be able to take part in state competitions. During the conversation, the group realizes that Jess, one of the students, has fallen into the pool, and Cody dives in to rescue the boy. The swimmer quickly brings the student to the edge, but before he can thank him for pulling him out of the water, the young man realizes that his colleague is no longer near him. Far away, John returns from another fishing trip on the high seas, and when they notice him, the other fishermen make fun of him because he is the only one who believes in the existence of mermaids in real life. Despite the nasty jokes from his colleagues, the man says that they will still regret everything they are saying about him, and goes to the warehouse to check on the fish he has managed to catch. In the morning, Cody is congratulated by his classmates for his excellent performance in the competition, but is upset when he notices that he has gotten a bad grade in yet another of his evaluations. Shortly afterwards, the class teacher reveals that the students will have activities about marine life, which will be done in pairs, and tells them that she has chosen the teams at random. Checking the list of students, Cody realizes that his double is none other than Jess, the same boy he had saved from the pool the day before. Trying to console him, the young man says that he has a great knowledge of marine animals, so they will be able to carry out the activity with extreme ease. Despite this, Cody explains that they shouldn't think about school activities just yet, as his birthday is approaching, and so that they can get along, he decides to invite Jess to his party. The next day, the young man gathers his friends around the backyard of his house, where they eat and have fun with his family. Outside, the trio run into Jess, who is excited to have been invited to his first birthday party. Wanting to make fun of him, Sean calls him to go for a swim with the group later, and Sam scolds him because the boy can't swim yet. Feeling humiliated by the boy's jokes, Jess decides to leave and asks Cody's mother to give him his present. During the night, when Cody was getting ready for bed, his parents said that he had forgotten to open one of the presents from his party. The young man then discovers that this is Jess's present, and when he opens the package, he comes across a science fiction book themed around submarines. On the outskirts of the beach house, the mermaid approaches the shore once again, and observes the residence in which her son has lived for the last 13 years. At the same time, Cody begins to dream of glimpses of his real mother at the bottom of the ocean, but he ends up being woken up by his alarm, which interrupts his visions. Annoyed, the young man tries to deactivate his alarm clock, but the device receives an electric shock, causing it to stop working. Confused, Cody goes to the kitchen, and after drinking some milk, he realizes that the box is stuck in his hands, and tries to understand why this is happening. A few hours later, the boy meets Jess, who is studying various tide pools around the beach. During the conversation, Cody says that he doesn't find any of it interesting, which is why he has been getting extremely low marks in biology class. The student then replies that the content isn't as difficult as it seems, and his colleague asks if there isn't some way to help him improve his grades. Upon hearing this, Jess asks Cody to teach him how to swim properly, after which he will give the boy several private lessons, allowing him to improve his grades without having to cheat. So the young people shake hands, but at that moment, the student realizes that his colleague has some scales all over his arm, and he is shocked by what he is seeing. Jess says that he has never seen this type of phenomenon on human skin, only on frogs and lizards, and he is increasingly amused by what he has just discovered. At home, Cody tries to wash his hands again and again, but nothing seems to remove the scales, and he begins to despair. Noticing her son's delay in going to the bathroom, Sharon asks what's going on, and after leaving the room with his hands in his pockets, the boy says he's fine and goes up to his room. The next day, Cody and Jess meet at school, and the student asks how his friend is coping with all those scales on his body. Annoyed, the boy says that he no longer has anything strange in his hands and asks his friend to stop talking so loudly. Trying to change the subject, Jess tells them that they need to do the school activity as soon as possible, and Cody suggests that they set off in the direction of his house. The boy reluctantly accepts, and together they walk to the city docks. When they arrive at the site, Cody begins to explore the objects stored in one of the sheds, and Jess says that they shouldn't be entering that place. At that moment, the kids are surprised by John, and Jess introduces his new friend to his father. Looking at Cody, the man realizes that he is the son of the couple in charge of the tourist ferry, and asks if the boy's family has ever seen anything strange in the water. Confused by the fisherman's questions, the young man asks if he really believes in the existence of mermaids and newts, and John says that he has already seen one with his own eyes. Trying to prevent his friend from being frightened by his father's behavior, Jess reminds him that they need to start the biology activity, and together they set off towards the pier to collect shells. The next day, Cody receives an A from his teacher, and feels excited that his report card is finally improving. Later, the boy begins to drink large quantities of water, but his thirst continues to increase and his parents are worried about what might be happening to their son. Cody says that he doesn't feel sick, and that he doesn't understand people's concern, as he just has an unusual thirst. In addition, the boy tells them about a greenish, scaly rash that has appeared on his skin repeatedly, and asks if this could be a disease inherited from his other parents. Upon hearing this, Sharon assures her son that nothing like this is happening to him, and claims that the symptoms are due to some simple local pathogen. During the evening, Cody goes to the amusement park with Sam, and while they are talking at one of the food stands, the girl decides to hold his hand. Thanks to this, the girl's hair starts to levitate, which makes the teenager start laughing. Concerned, Sam asks if there's something wrong with her appearance, but Cody says it's fine, and tries to hold in his laughter as he watches the girl's hair being lifted into the air. Later, the young man continues reading the book he got from Jess, but after picking up his bottle to drink water, he realizes that the object has stuck to his hands. Immediately afterwards, Cody leans on the wall, causing him to become more and more entangled. Desperate, the boy screams for his parents, and after finding their son hanging from the ceiling, they decide to contact the local doctor. After analyzing his patient for some time, the man says he already has his diagnosis, but asks the couple to stay away because he needs to talk to Cody alone. In the morning, the young man meets up with Jess, and during swimming training, he tells him that he was diagnosed with common puberty, and was disgusted by the doctor's conclusion. Realizing that his friend's situation is getting worse, the boy decides to help him deal with these symptoms, and they conclude that they need to carry out some tests. So the pair get together to do a lot of research into the teenager's situation, allowing them to discover that Cody is able to give orders to fish, turn on light bulbs and swim at superhuman speeds. At dusk, the kids are getting ready to leave, and Jess says that his friend needs to stay out of the water for as long as possible, but he refuses. Cody explains that he feels very good when swimming, as well as being part of the swimming competition group, which will be competing in the finals in a few weeks' time. At home, Jess goes through his father's records on the mermaids found in the real world, and is approached by the old man, who begins to tell him some stories he has heard over the years. Soon after, the boy asks about an article he has just found, which explains that these beings begin to transform at the age of 13. With this, John claims that this is a real fact about mermaids and newts, where the fish half of their bodies appear around this exact age. The next day, the youngsters meet in the school laboratory, and after a lot of research, Jess realizes that his friend may be a young merman. Upon hearing this, Cody is extremely confused, since he can create electric currents with his fingers, and Jess explains that eels have this ability as a form of defense. So the young man goes to Sharon and Whit and says that he needs to find his real parents as soon as possible. Despite the boy's desperation, the couple refuse to believe his words, and in order to prove what he is saying, He wets his arm, causing a large number of scales to appear. Realizing that Cody may not be as wrong as he seemed, Sharon and Whit decide to tell the story of the day they found him on their boat. So that the boy doesn't have any more of these problems, the woman says that he can no longer come into contact with water, so he must stop taking part in the finals of the competition. Disappointed at not being able to compete alongside his friends, Cody goes to his room and decides to try the fish food, only to be disappointed by how bad it tastes. During the night, the young man ends up dreaming of his mermaid mother once again, and when he wakes up, he goes downstairs to find his parents in the middle of an argument. In the morning, Cody observes the sea around him and decides to go for a swim so that he can see how his body will react. With that, the young man swims freely, not even noticing that he is being watched by his mermaid mother. Noticing that his scales have not yet appeared, Cody believes he may be getting better, and continues his swimming, making great leaps several meters above the water. Excited, the boy returns to the beach, but is completely disappointed to notice that fish fins have appeared on his arms. Just then, Sam comes across her friend on the beach and asks if he wants to swim with her. While using the sand to hide his arms, Cody denies the girl's invitation and says he needs a little time alone. Upon hearing this, Sam feels disappointed, and after saying goodbye to her friend, she leaves. Sometime later, Cody meets Jess for another swim training session, and wonders why his transformations are so random. Realizing that the boy is extremely worried about his situation, the young man says that they should focus on solving this problem and interrupt his classes. However, Cody doesn't want his friend to give up on learning to swim, and says that they will continue training as normal. Just then, Sean appears and mocks his friend for still trying to teach Jess. Irritated by his behavior, Cody reprimands his rival and orders him to leave, as the final of the competition will be held the following day. Trying to prevent his friend from being discovered, Jess tries to convince him not to do it, but the boy says he won't give up, so he'll take part in the finals as normal. Then the big day of the state competition finally arrives, and after a quick motivational talk with his swimmers, the coach sends his team out to prepare. Realizing that Cody isn't there yet, the man asks if Sam has any news about his whereabouts, but the girl says she hasn't been able to talk to her friend lately. At home, the teenager pretends he's not going to take part in the competition, but as soon as Sharon and Whit leave his room, he escapes through his window and runs to the stadium. Noticing that his friend has come to compete, Jess is terrified and begs him not to go in the water under any circumstances. However, Cody says that he won't give up his career as an athlete because of his current condition, and then he rushes to his position. As the competition gets underway, Sean and Cody swim at top speed, getting everyone in the audience excited about their incredible performance. Just then, Jess realizes that his father has come to the stadium and is using his binoculars to analyze the boys' swimming, which has already begun its transformation. Throughout the race, Cody manages to overtake Sean little by little, allowing him to win the tournament and obtain the state record time. Excited by his first victory, the youngster celebrates first place with great joy, and Jess rushes to prevent his father from seeing the boy's fins. When he realizes that his arms are exposed, Cody grabs the pool's electric bars, which cause all the lights in the place to burst. Thanks to the distraction, the young man manages to get away from the crowd, and after grabbing his coat, he runs to the changing room, being chased by Sean. Even though he hasn't met his opponent, the boy says he will find out how Cody cheated in the competitions, and says he will end his career when he learns the truth. Soon afterwards, Sean leaves the place, without even noticing that the young man had been hiding in the ceiling all this time. Quickly, Cody goes out the back door, where he is met by his parents, who take him home while being watched by John. While trying to dry his son's body, Sharon and Whit ask him if anyone has discovered his secret, and he says that no one has seen his fins. Jess then arrives at the venue and tells them that because Cody had disappeared after breaking the state record, he had caused a huge stir at the championships, causing several people to comment on what had happened. Soon afterwards, Sam arrives at her friend's house, and when she sees the fins in his arms, she loses consciousness. When she wakes up, the girl is outraged by everything she's discovering, and Cody asks her to try to understand his situation and stay by his side. However, the young woman says she doesn't want to take part in all this madness, and after promising not to tell anyone, she leaves. The next day, Cody meets with his swimming team, and Sean accuses him of having used some kind of chemical substance to win the competition. At the same time, his rival begins to intimidate the boy and, irritated by the accusations, he attacks his opponent, starting a fight in the corridors. Before the situation escalated any further, Jess tried to calm the students down, but upon hearing more of Sean's taunts, Cody tried to attack him once again. Then one of the teachers breaks up the fight and orders them both to leave immediately. At night, Cody decides to take another dip in the sea, and as he approaches one of the lighthouses, he comes across his mermaid mother. Excited, the young merman interacts with his mother for the first time, but before they can communicate, they are surprised by John's fishing boat. Trying not to be detected, the mermaid leaves, but the fisherman manages to spot her, and while celebrating the creature's return, he realizes that Cody was swimming alongside her. To protect himself, the boy returns to the beach, where he desperately runs home. Before going to sleep, Cody calls Sam and begs her to meet him on the coast the next day, as he has something very important to tell her. In the morning, Jess goes to his father's boat, and when he notices that the fisherman is preparing large traps to catch the mermaids, he despairs and runs to warn his friend. On the beach, Cody meets up with Sam, and after apologizing for her behavior the day she discovered his secrets, she says that she misses her friend very much. Relieved at what he is hearing, the young man decides to take the girl down to the water, causing his fins to appear once again. Soon after, Cody tells her that his real mother has come to meet Sam, and when she sees the mermaid with her own eyes, the teenager is completely dazzled. At that moment, the merman feels strong pains in his body and asks Sam to run to warn Sharon and Whit that something bad might be happening. At the same time, Cody notices that his scales are getting drier and drier, and when he looks down, he discovers that his legs are turning into a big fishtail. Desperate, the mother mermaid tries to swim towards her son, but before she can help him, he ends up being captured by John. Realizing that his father has just taken Cody, Jess rushes to try to rescue his friend, and goes to the fisherman's boat. Excited, John says that he only needs the boy for a few seconds so that he can lure the mermaid and catch her in his trap. Trying to get his son back, the creature approaches the boat, at which point the fisherman sets up his net. Thanks to the trap, the mermaid ends up being imprisoned, and Cody begs Jess to save his mother, while John shouts excitedly because he will finally have proof that those beings are real. Quickly, the young man takes a knife from his father, and after diving towards the mermaid, he cuts the fishing net, allowing her to escape without difficulty. When he realizes that he hasn't managed to catch his target, John goes crazy and ends up untying the rope from his trap. As a result, Jess ends up getting his leg tangled in the net, causing him to sink at high speed and no longer being able to breathe. Panicked, John dives in to save his son, but despair prevents him from doing anything for the boy. Cody then swims quickly towards his friend and manages to bring him to the pier in a few seconds. At the same time, Sam arrives at the scene alongside Sharon and Whit, and together they try to revive Jess. Realizing that the first aid techniques aren't working, Cody uses his electric currents to bring the young man back to consciousness. Amazed by what he has just witnessed, Jess says that his father has always been right, but John tells him that he doesn't care anymore and that all that matters is that his son is alive. Just then, the mother mermaid approaches the group, and everyone is amazed to finally see the creature with their own eyes. Realizing that her son deserves to go on with his life with his real mother, Sharon becomes emotional and decides to support the boy's destiny. Finally, Cody thanks his friends for all their help and dives towards the mermaid, who is extremely happy to finally be reunited with her son. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.